College football summer power rankings all this week right here at the Voice of College Football. We appreciate you stopping by for the best in discussion, debate, and analysis. Please like the video and subscribe. Hit that bell for the notifications to know when we go live. Let's dive right into it. And the new 17-team ACC, and it starts with a bottom dweller. And Stanford is supposed to be so bad that Vegas gave them twice the odds to win the ACC championship game as the next worst team, Wake Forest. Stanford at plus 50,000. You gamblers, if you can grasp that and want to roll on Stanford, go for it. 9-27 in their final three seasons in the Pac-12. Four-star quarterback Elijah Brown is something to get excited about, but he's a true freshman. But he is vying legitimately for the starting quarterback position to get it away from former starter Ashton Daniels. And, of course, Troy Taylor came in from Sacramento State, where he defeated Stanford as a Sac State coach his final season there. Came to Stanford, lost to Sac State. Of course, the highlight last season for Stanford football was that Friday night improbable comeback win at Colorado. It looks dismal for Stanford. They're number 17 right now in our power rankings in the ACC. And speaking of one Wake Forest, Dave Clawson called himself a 4-8 football coach after the conclusion of 2023. Well, we all know that Dave Clawson is one of the best coaches in college football. He has probably less to work with than anyone, but he said and took accountability. Hey, the team's 4-8. I'm a 4-8 football coach. Wake, of course, had gone on a run of bowl appearances, and Dave Clawson, of course, elevated historically one of the worst programs in college football all the way to an ACC championship game in 2021. No Sam Hartman, and it became a quarterback turnstile because of injuries and poor play. Hank Bachmeier comes in from Boise State and then Louisiana Tech last season to try to remedy the QB position. 51 touchdowns, 24 picks, 63% completion percentage in his 5-year career. At number 16 in the ACC, Dave Clawson and Wake. After years of shortcomings, Dino Babers is finally out at Syracuse. And in comes some fresh blood in Fran Brown from Georgia. Did a remarkable job recruiting at Georgia. Now, one asked a question, of course, how much of that was UGA and how much of that Fran Brown, as he was named the recruiter of the year across college football circles. But the early returns for 2025 are really good. Fran Brown making some inroads in recruiting in the future for Syracuse football, but focused on 2024. It's about Fran Brown and Kyle McCord at quarterback, of course, coming in from Ohio State, where he led the Buckeyes to an 11-1 record, but it was not good enough. 24 touchdowns, 6 picks for McCord. The other big incoming transfer, Fidel Diggs, a defensive end, edge rusher from Texas A&M, who had a big upside coming out of high school. LaQuint Allen is back at running back, a 1,000-yard back for the Orange in 2023. At number 15 in our ACC rankings, coming off 6-7, Syracuse. Bill O'Brien definitely has his detractors both at the collegiate level and the NFL, but no doubt the man knows football, nuts and bolts, personnel, schemes. He knows how to build a program as well. He will do fine at Boston College based on BC standards and, of course, the uncertainty of the ACC on the horizon. He's got Thomas Castellanos at quarterback. He and the rest of his teammates threw a scare into Florida State last year. Should have won that football game at home. Still, it was a turnaround season of sorts in Chestnut Hill at 7-6. Boston College and Bill O'Brien, our number 14 team in the ACC. Virginia, of course, one of the schools rumored to be ultimately headed to the Big Ten, but just trying to get better in the ACC for right now. 3-9 last season, but included 2 nice wins against Duke and North Carolina, 4 one-score losses, most impressively on the road on a Friday night at Louisville, where they led in the fourth quarter. They've got a quarterback battle between Tony Muskett, he's got experience, and also true freshman from 2023, Anthony Calandria, who impressed at times. He's a playmaker, he can run around and scare defenses. This team is number 3 in the country in returning production. They also have a nice incoming transfer, among others. Chris Tyree, the running back at Notre Dame, who gained over 6.8 yards per carry for a Notre Dame team that went to the college football playoff in 2020, but his career never took off from there in South Bend. Maybe it will in Charlottesville, our number 13 team in the ACC, the Wahoos. Perception, reality. Brent Key and Georgia Tech favor the perception from 2023. Consider this. If Mario Cristobal made the right coaching decision and knelt on the football in Miami to wrap up a win, Georgia Tech would have the perception of a losing football team and the reality of one. In the standings at 5-7. However, they got the miracle win at Miami, pulled out a 6-6 regular season, won a bowl game that they were down by 2 scores against UCF, and voila, it's 7-6 with a bowl win. That looks so much better. Haynes King is back at quarterback. They picked up a nice potential big-time playmaker on the defensive side in Romello Height, who had 4 sacks at USC. Our number 12 team in the ACC, Ramblin' Wreck. You got to feel bad for Duke football. They get one of the up-and-coming coaches in college football in one Mike Elko, but of course he gets wooed away to go to bigger money and a bigger stage at Texas A&M. Now it's a second shot from Manny Diaz. Of course, mixed returns at Miami. It's considered, Treetop View, a failure, but he had just about as good a record as any Miami coach over the last 20 years at 21-16. And now he gets a second shot. And if you look at history, many coaches fail the first time around, learn a ton, and he should from James Franklin, aside from the jokes here, fill them in right there. But James Franklin running a nice program at Penn State. Manny Diaz did a nice job as defensive coordinator there. We know he knows that side of the football. Maybe he's learned some lessons from his stay at Miami from 2019 through 2021. Now he's got Malik Murphy at quarterback. This guy has the body of an NFL big-time quarterback and just didn't get the shot at Texas. But we saw him in the spring game, and based on scouting reports, he's got a huge arm. He's an intriguing prospect. Mike Elko probably didn't stay at Duke 2 seasons long enough to truly build the roster, but certainly in much better shape than what Elko took over from David Cutcliffe. Our number 11 team in the ACC, the Dukies. Doesn't appear as though Pat Narduzzi has made a whole lot of friends across college football, especially in recent years. He speaks his mind, and he's a tough son of a gun. Well, it didn't much matter because he was able to lead this Pitt defense and take what he learned and what he accomplished there at Michigan State, transition that to Pitt. They had one of the best pass rushes in college football for a span of 4 or 5 years, always finishing in the top 3 in the nation in sacks, and then had that tough-minded run the ball first and foremost approach, and it didn't hurt to develop a quarterback like Kenny Pickett, who turned out to be a quasi-NFL starter. But it all came crashing down after 20 wins and 6 losses and an ACC crown in 2021 to a 3-9. The Phil Jurkovec try did not work clearly. Now you got a couple quarterbacks to deal with here in Alabama transfer quarterback Eli Holstein and Nate Yarnell, who has racked up just 3 starts in 3 seasons of college football. It appears as though Pat Narduzzi in this Pitt program is at a fork in the road. They're also number 10 in our ACC power rankings right here at the Voice of College Football. I love what I do as a sports commentator. I have definitely been blessed. I enjoy my career. But I got to say, if I could turn back time, I would learn the business side of sports management. How to manage people, how to manage projects, how to manage situations. And then there's also those times in which you feel stuck in a job, stuck in a career, just feeling that there's a dead end and wondering and waiting, when is that break going to happen? Well, unfortunately, I got to tell you, that break is not coming unless you make it happen. Sports is your passion. You love it, you live it, you breathe it. Why not make your passion your career? Introducing Southern New Hampshire University, our sponsor. At SNHU, you will learn the business side of sports, sports management principles, and how to gather and analyze data. This degree will help you prepare for a career as an athletic director, sports information director, marketing manager, and other exciting roles in the sports industry. You'll be able to tap into SNHU's network of graduates working in sports-related organizations. You'll also have the opportunity to take advantage of an internship or an experiential learning course within the field. Your courses are taught by faculty with real-world experience, so you'll have opportunities to connect with people in the industry. And when you graduate, SNHU will be right there to help you with your job search. SNHU is accredited, nonprofit, and has radically affordable tuition. SNHU was voted one of the country's most innovative universities by U.S. News and World Report. Just go to snhu.edu/VOCFB. The link's also in my description section down below to see if you qualify for SNHU's sports management program. You might be eligible for financial aid or have existing college credits that could fast-track your degree at SNHU. Click the link to get started. Your exciting sports management degree at SNHU awaits you. Do it now. I think we're all intrigued by SMU's transition to the ACC and how well they could possibly compete. They went 9-0 in the American Conference last year, were probably the best of the group of five, despite Liberty getting the New Year's 6 rep spot, and they went 11-3. So they lost all 3 games against Power 5 teams by multiple scores. So that's just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to the data that shows us historically that this is going to be a tough move for SMU to succeed immediately. Look at BYU, Cincinnati, UCF, and Houston. 8-28 in the Big 12 last year in their first seasons in the Power 5. Then we also have the likes of TCU and Utah in recent history. Certainly they have succeeded long term, but their first few seasons were rough. But SMU might be different. They're in the top 10 in the nation in returning production. Preston Stone back at quarterback, 28 touchdowns. He's got his 7 top receivers coming back, including star Jake Bailey and star tight end RJ Maryland at number 9 in our list, and 7th in Vegas odds to win the ACC. SMU. Cal football fans, if there are any, probably hate the start times and, of course, the travel, but the reset in the ACC could be a good thing for Cal football. Justin Wilcox won just 35% of his games in the ACC, but they're coming back with a pretty strong nucleus after 6-7 and a bowl loss to Texas Tech. Francisco Mendoza, the incumbent quarterback, will get tested by Chandler Rogers, the incoming transfer from North Texas. Jaden Ott is one of the best backs in college football that you've never heard of, some of you. Corey Dyches, the incoming transfer tight end from Maryland, caught 49 balls last year. Tobias Merriweather expected big things at Notre Dame. He'll get his second shot at Cal. On defense, you got David Reese at linebacker, leading one of the best back sevens that we will see in the ACC. This could be an interesting dark horse. It's Cal, and they're the number 8 team in the ACC. If you didn't know, Jeff Brom can coach. He lifted Purdue from the bottom of the Big Ten to consistent bowl team and a Big Ten championship game. Went to Louisville and voila, onto the ACC championship game. Jack Plummer, no great quarterback, but Jeff Brom knew what to do with him. Probably will do the same with Tyler Shook this year, coming in from Oregon via Texas Tech, where when he has started, he's typically won the football games. Louisville also brings in Ja'Cory Brooks. Look back at his resume at Alabama. It was mighty impressive, some of the big catches he had down the stretch in 2021, specifically against Auburn. Saved Bama a college football playoff appearance, but then it got buried on the depth chart. 2 talented players coming in from Miami, and Donald Chaney at running back, and Jaleel Skinner at tight end. NIL issues, transfer portal seems rather odd narrative there at Louisville. Don't know exactly what's going on, what the truth is, but 31 players leaving, 30 coming in. Is that alarming? Not in today's college football. It is on the high end. However, Panay Boone, the all-MAC running back, comes in from Toledo, but then he turns around and leaves to UCF. Same thing with Tyler Barron. They picked up one of the best pass rushers in the SEC from Tennessee, and then boom, he turns around, goes to Miami. So Louisville, though, primed to be a possible dark horse in the ACC's championship race, and our number 7 team in our Voice of College Football ACC Power Rankings. Mack Brown's legacy is locked. He's won a national championship, took another team to a BCS championship game. He transformed North Carolina football during his first tenure, during his second tenure, immediate returns in the first couple seasons. Now they've plateaued. Yes, North Carolina did go to the ACC championship game a couple of years ago, but they lost 5 games. They lost another 5 games this past year and somewhat wasted the tenure of Drake May. Now they turned it over to journeyman quarterback Max Johnson in from Texas A&M and LSU, where he did turn in a nice season against SEC defenses, 27 touchdowns and 6 picks at LSU. But North Carolina, surprisingly, the odds of them winning the ACC championship, they're usually in about that fourth position behind the heavyweights in the conference, plus 4,500. Not a whole lot of faith in this football team as they've lost a ton of talent on both sides of the football. Our number 6 team in the ACC, UNC. Virginia Tech's been down and riding under the radar of college football nationally for quite some time. And talk about under the radar, all of their ACC conference games last season, except the Florida State game on ABC, were on the ACC network. You probably did not watch Virginia Tech football in 2023, but you may have reason to in 24. One of the top returning production teams in all of college football at number 4. Kyron Drones back at quarterback, probably has learned a lot, improved during the offseason after 22 total touchdowns and 5 picks. They got some insurance for him with a veteran, Colin Schlee, coming in from UCLA. Bashul Tootin is one of the best backs in the ACC. Ollie Jennings, look out for him. Don't look for him in the stats in 2023. He was injured, but he looked great in the spring. Dorian Strong, one of the best cornerbacks in the ACC as well. Virginia Tech, an interesting selection here. Could be rising up the charts as a dark horse. A lot of people like them. We will do, of course, a deeper dive and make our predictions later in the summer. But for right now, it's the number 5 team, the Hokies in the ACC. Somebody lit a fire under Dave Doran. Maybe it was me. I'm kidding. But I did post 2 videos basically stating, why does Dave Doran still have a job at NC State? Yeah, he was getting to bowl games, but it was the magic formula of bad non-conference scheduling and eking out 3 and 5 in the ACC. At one point, Dave Doran was 21 and 35, 37% winning percentage in the ACC. But since then, 23 and 11. That's a turnaround, even though people don't look at NC State as a turnaround situation. Now he's got one of the most accomplished quarterbacks in college football in Grayson McCall. Look at the stat line. It's ridiculous. He's thrown for a zillion yards and touchdowns, and he's a runner that can beat the defenses on the ground as well. They bring in some weapons for Grayson McCall. Noah Rogers could not break the starting lineup at Ohio State at wide receiver. Justin Joly, one of the best tight ends you've not heard of, out of UConn, and Jordan Waters in the ACC at running back out of Duke. NC State also signed a couple top 100 prospects in the 2024 class. That hasn't happened typically in the past. Our number 4 team in the ACC, NC State. Is Miami finally going to win? Mario Cristobal's 12 and 13, and I know he's building a program, but there is the transfer portal for quick fixes, and he did take over a top 15 roster. They're recruiting out of their minds. They brought in the number 1 player in the ACC in the recruiting rankings, Justin Scott, defensive lineman, also Marquise Lightfoot and Armando Blunt, who are 3 of the top players all on the defensive front. So they get a freshman push defensively. Of course, the big talks about Cam Ward, probably the best transfer quarterback coming in from Washington State. And so Miami's also got Tyler Barron coming in as the top edge rusher from the SEC in Tennessee. Damian Martinez, first team all Pac-12 the past 2 seasons at running back. This roster's pretty loaded. Xavier Restrepo decided not to go pro. He comes back as well at wide receiver. Number 3 team in the ACC. Will they finally break through? Miami. With most of these power rankings breakdowns here at the Voice of College Football, we focus on the transfer portal because, of course, we're looking at the team from last season and how they are different this year. And first and foremost, it's who did you lose in the NFL draft and who did you gain in the transfer portal? Clemson? Nobody. This is about Garrett Riley, the hotshot incoming offensive coordinator from TCU, getting it together and improving Cade Klubnik. He has to get better. Also, the offensive line play and wide receiver play have been substandard. But they bring in 2 studs, true freshmen. Can they contribute right out of the gate? Bryant Wesco and DJ Moore, 2 of the top wide receivers in high school. Sammy Brown at linebacker was their top-rated recruit in the 2024 class. The defense should be solid, if not elite. And just think about this. The ACC race, despite Clemson being virtually out of it, sometime in October, was basically decided when Cade Klubnik got blindsided going in for a 2-score lead against Florida State. So this program is still right there, recruiting among the best. But will they push through? And Klubnik's development is the key to Clemson's 2024. Our number 2 team in the ACC is the team that ruled the conference from 2015 through 2020, Clemson. Other coaches and programs have gained more acclaim through the transfer portal, more attention because of just the mass volume of players coming in. Deion Sanders of Colorado, the prime example. Pardon the pun. Mike Norvell, though, has done it better than anyone. His success rate through the roof in terms of good players, impact players, but also stars. Jared Verse, Ventrell Cypress, Braden Fisk, Trey Benson, Keon Coleman, of course, Johnny Wilson. Jordan Travis was a transfer prior to Norvell. Jordan Travis is gone. That's a huge loss. DJ Uiagalelei, here he comes back to the ACC. Of course, he was the target of Florida State fans at one point. Now he's got the garnet and gold on each week, and he's going to be expected to lead this team to a conference championship and a college football playoff appearance. 22 touchdowns, 10 picks has been his standard stat line the last couple seasons at Oregon State and at Clemson after he really bottomed out in 2021. He's not going to be as good as Jordan Travis. I don't think there's any question about that. Roydell Williams, Malik Benson come in at running back to try to replace Trey Benson. Florida State has had to revamp, but they've got a solid roster. Mike Norvell knows what he's doing. Vegas says this is still by far the team to beat with plus 270 odds for the ACC championship. Number 1 in the ACC in the summer right now, not our prediction necessarily, but our power ranking right now is Florida State at number 1. Our simple method is to look at last year's team. What did you lose? What did you gain? Not looking at a schedule. I'm looking at the best teams in the ACC, 1 through 17. You see the list on the screen. This is Power Rankings Week right here at the Voice of College Football. We've knocked out the ACC. We've got 3 to go. Leave your comments down below. Subscribe and like the video right here at the Voice of College Football.